Okay, thank you. Okay, is there any question before I move to the next verse? Okay, all right, so I'll move on to the next verse. So I have one other question. The pictures, photographs of the people cover some of my screen. Is there a way to get rid of those pictures? I don't have a screen covered. Does anybody know?
I don't think so, Prabhuji.
Okay,
No.
so then I cannot display because I cannot even move to the forward. Okay, all right. So let me try this way differently. Next. Okay, and then go back, share the screen. Okay, there you go. So now we are on Adi Lila, chapter 1, text 57. चिंतामणि जयित सोम गिरिर गुरुर में शिक्षास गुरुश्च भगवान शिखि पिंच मौलि यत पाद कल्प तरु पल्लव शेखरेशु लीला स्वयंवर रसम लभते जय श्री. Translation. I'll read from my book. Can everybody please mute yourself? There's some background noise coming. All glories to Chintamani and my initiating spiritual master Somagiri. All glories to my instructing spiritual master, the supreme. Hold on. All glories to my instructing spiritual master, the supreme personality of Godhead, who wears peacock feathers in his crown. Under the shade of his lotus feet, which are like desired trees, Jai Shri Radharani enjoys the transcendental mellows of an eternal consort. So the purport Srila Prabhupada is explaining that this verse is from a book called Krishna Karnamrit that is written by Bilva Mangal Thakur. Bilva Mangal Thakur is a very interesting personality. To start off, he spent 800 years in Vrindavan. So, I mean, very long life. And before he became a sannyasi, he was a devotee, very nice devotee. But one day he saw a woman that he felt very attracted to. Her name was Chintamani. So he chased her literally, got to her house, and she explained to him that this is not the way to do things, but he was very insistent. So she said, okay, come back after 8 days. So he could barely wait for 8 days. And on the 8th night, the end of the 8th day, he went to her house, but it was raining very, very hard. The river was flooded, but he found what he thought was a piece of wood. Actually, it was a corpse. He hung on to it, crossed the river, and he used a rope to go up a few floors. What he thought was a rope actually was a snake. He finally got to her room, and when she saw him there, she really chastised him. And she said, if you had this much attraction to Krishna, you'd be a very different person and you'll go back to Godhead rather than having attraction for a material person like me. So from that day, she became his instructing spiritual master, or he considered her. And then, of course, he got initiation from another personality by the name of Somagiri, which is mentioned here. And then he became such a pure devotee that Lord Krishna used to come and meet him. I just said in the purport that when he offered bhoga, he did arti and all that, or he meditated, Krishna will jump upon his body and play with him as a little boy. And one day, finally, Krishna will bring milk and all that for Bil Mangal Thakur for him to drink. So one day, I didn't mention that something else had happened, that after leaving Chintamani, he tried to become a devotee, but he saw another person's wife. And he asked the man, can I please enjoy your wife? And the person was such a wonderful host, he said, okay. And he instructed his wife to get ready. And she came ready to be with him. But that's when his senses really came back, and he said, before you come into my room, can you please take 2 iron spokes and heat them until they're red hot? She wasn't sure why he's asking for that, but she did that. He took the spokes and poked them in his eyes. And that's how he became blind. He said, it's my eyes that are causing me problems. And then he became such a wonderful devotee that Krishna would play with him. Anyway, so the point is that he was blind when Krishna was playing with him. So one day Krishna said, Baba, I have to go home. And Bilvangal Thakur grabbed his hand and said, no, you cannot go. I cannot let you go. Krishna said, Baba, I have to go. Bilvangal said, no, you cannot go. So forcibly, Krishna released his hand and ran away. And Bilvangal Thakur sang a very beautiful song, very famous song. And he said, and I apologize to anybody who does not understand Hindi, हाथ चुलाए जात हो दुर्बल जाने के मोह हृदय से जब जाओगे सबल जानी हो तो है. It says that you think I'm weak, so you release your hand. But I challenge you, if you think you're really strong, get out of my heart. And Krishna came back and said, no, I cannot do that. So that was the level of devotion of Bilvangal Thakur, who's written this thing, and he's offering obeisances to his instructing spiritual masters and his initiating spiritual master, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, and his eternal consort Radharam. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, then I move on to the next verse. I'm sorry, I have to go back and forth, but I'm trying to share the screen. Okay. Okay, I don't know, somebody, does anybody know the meter of this verse?
Should I try, Prabhuji?
Try it, please. So, go ahead.
जीवे सक्षत नाही तते गुरु चैत्य रूपे शिक्षा गुरु haya Krishna mahanta swarupe.
Very good, thank you.
Should I read the translation, Prabhu?
Okay, go ahead.
Translation. Since one cannot visually experience the presence of the super soul, he appears before us as a liberated devotee. Such a spiritual master is none other than Krishna himself.
Right. Okay, so basically the point again being made is that we read earlier that Krishna is instructing his spiritual master as Chaitanya Guru, as a super soul in our heart. And externally, he manifests himself as a spiritual master. So he's Chaitanya Guru as well as external. And in the purport again, Srila Prabhupada is saying that a conditioned soul cannot directly meet Krishna. But if he becomes sincere devotee and sincerely engages in the devotional service, Krishna sends a representative to help him invoke his dormant love for Krishna and dormant capacity, proclivity to serve Krishna. And then that teacher guides this person externally how to get to Krishna, and Krishna continues as Chaitanya Guru to guide him also how to get to Krishna. Any questions on that? Okay, then let's go on to the next one. Okay. Okay, Sakshi Swarupa, you want to go ahead?
Guruji, I think this one has to be read as.
Okay, I'll do that again. Tato dushangam utsrijya satsu sajjet buddhiman sant evasa chinnanti manovyasangam uktibhi. Translation. One should therefore avoid bad company and associate only with devotees. With their realized instructions, such saints can cut the knot connecting one with activities unfavorable to devotional service. So we know that Lord Chaitanya explained to Sanatana Goswami the 6 processes of devotional of surrender, and the first 2 were accept what is favorable to devotional service, and the second one was to reject what is unfavorable. So same thing here is being said, that somebody has to help you cut the knot that connects you with activities that are unfavorable to devotional service. And here, this verse comes from Srimad Bhagavatam, where Lord Krishna is instructing Uddhava. And the background of the verse is the story of Pururava and Urvashi. Does everybody know the story of Pururava and Urvashi? Please say yes or no.
I don't know, Prabhuji.
No, Prabhu.
Okay, all right. So very quickly, the story is Pururava was a very powerful devotee king. And Urvashi is a heavenly damsel. She got cursed by a sage to come down to the earth. And that's where Pururava saw her and expressed a desire to marry her. And she said, well, she has some conditions. And he said, any condition I'll accept. And she says, okay, I have two conditions. One is I have these two lambs that you must take good care of. If you lose them, I'll leave you. And the second is that if I ever see you without your clothes on, except when we are together, then I will leave you. And he said, that's fine, I'll accept that. And he started spending time with her. Many years went by. He actually stopped taking care of his kingdom and all that. I was with her all the time. He was so much in love. After many years, Indra realized, now remember, one day in the heavenly kingdom is equal to, who knows? One day in heavenly kingdom is equal to how many days on earth?
1 year.
1 year, very good. So even if it was like 5 days, that's 5 years. Anyway, my point is, after some time, Indra realized that Urvashi is missing. So he asked somebody, hey, where's she? And they told him the whole story. And he sent a couple of people and said, go get her back. So 2 Gandharvas went. And what they did was, while, they knew while he's in bed with her, they stole the 2 lambs. And so the lamb started crying, my dear king, protect us, we're being kidnapped. So Urvashi heard that and she said, what kind of king are you? You're so important, you can't even take care of 2 lambs. So go take care of them. That got Pururava was so angry, he didn't realize he didn't have his clothes on. He ran after the people who were stealing the lambs. And so when they saw the king coming, they ran away. They left the lambs behind, so he picked up the lambs, was coming back. But in the meantime, the same 2 people who were sent by Indra, they came to the bedroom where Urvashi was there. And very soon, King Pururava walked in, holding the 2 lambs, but not realizing he's not wearing any clothes. So Urvashi said, look, our contract was that if I see you without your clothes on, then I'll leave you. So I'm leaving. And he left her. She left him. So that's basically the story. It's saying that he was deeply affected by her leaving and had to learn to overcome his grief. And therefore, the point being made is that Pururava was a devotee. So one should avoid the company of undesirable people, which are basically gross materialists who are only interested in sense gratification, or people who are non-believers, don't believe in the concept of God. And therefore, this verse is saying, please avoid the company of these 2 types of people. Any questions or comments on that? Okay, then I'll go to the next one. Okay. This is a very painful way of doing it, but anyway. Share the screen. Okay, I think this is also a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, but has different meter, so I'm not sure. Satam prasangan mama veer samvido bhavanti hitakarna rasayana katha tajjoshanad ashwa apavarga vartamani shraddharatir bhaktir anukramishyati.
I'm on F now. Question F.
What's that?
Question F.
Sorry?
What does alienating mean?
alienating.
Yeah.
You're now on question number 4, F. You
Yeah.
should be that. The restriction was only 3 lines.
Excuse me, what's going on?
Oh, I wrote more.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
So what
Excuse
was
me.
the king go about alienating his Scottish subject?
Hold on,
Alienating
please.
means,
Excuse me.
leaving
Excuse
it,
me.
alienate someone, like secluding someone, right? So what did he do about alienating his Scottish subject?
Excuse
Now
me.
look for the Scottish subject and
I'm going
read
to
it.
remove you. I'm going to mute you. Yusha?
He set about alienating the Scottish people until he attempted to force the Scots to worship in the style of the Church of England.
That's it. You got to,
Thank you.
you got.
Okay. I have no idea what was going on here. So I've muted her. Okay. Share screen.
Prabhuji.
Ah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Devdani.
I'm sorry, but I have one question from the previous verse.
Yeah, go ahead. No, don't be sorry. Go ahead.
Actually, Prabhuji, like in this world, like we have to like balance both the things, especially like when we are not completely like my case, like I'm not completely initiated now, and like we are also maintaining our social life and as well as like spiritual life. So how do we cut down on the non-devotees association? Because sometimes it's like out of our family duties or maybe other responsibilities, we have to meet and associate.
Correct.
So then how do we balance this?
Yeah. So Rupa Goswami has answered that question in Nectar of Devotion. A very famous verse says, Anasaktasya Vishayan Yatharham Vijunjata, which basically says that you deal with material things and people without becoming attached to them and only as much as necessary. So, for example, you're doing a job, whether it's 8 to 6 or 8 to 9, whatever your hours are, you have to associate with people who work with you. But you don't have to associate with them after that.
Yeah.
Similarly, you don't have to invite them for lunch or dinner to your place. You don't have to go to the park and other places with them. You can have a devotee friends to do that with. You're working with them, yeah, you got to work with them. There's no choice. But nothing beyond that. Right? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes, but Prabhuji, like in case of families, like it's
Same thing.
unavoidable.
Same thing. There is probably greater amount of time you have to spend with your family, but still there's limit. Right? So you don't spend time with them more than you have to. Also, we should learn to give association rather than take association. What that means is that you influence them to your way of thinking rather than being influenced by them. Now you can say some will not be influenced, and that's fine. Then you just maintain a cordial relationship. Don't fight with them. Don't leave them. But you don't have to get close to them. You don't have to, heart to heart with them. You just do whatever is necessary, and that's it.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Sure. Anybody else has any questions on?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, it's Preeti here.
Preeti, Hare Krishna.
So, Prabhu, I was just thinking, I have friends who were really, when I came here in Canada, of course, I was not in with ISKCON. I had friends who helped me who are non-Hindus, who are not who are Canadians and so on. They helped me. They are more than family to me. And I come to the temple, I do my service as much as I can, but how do they are more than family to me because they were the ones who were here for me when no one was here. But how do I'm still very much connected with them. I do my service, I do everything, and they know, they respect my boundaries and everything, but I am still very much like, I would say we hang out together.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. And again, the answer is still the same, which is whatever is the necessary amount, you do that. In your case, maybe more than for somebody else. But whatever the necessary amount is, you do that. However, the second point was that you give association, not take association. What that means is that influence them with your thought process rather than be influenced by their thought process. So just because they're not devotees, you don't become non-devotee because they helped you. As a matter of fact, return the favor by helping them become devotees. Right? So influence them. Well, it's practical. I'm not saying you become dogmatic or anything like that. In a very practical, in a very nice way, wherever you can help them. By giving them prasadam, by sharing some stories, pastimes with them. If possible, bring them to the temple, give them some simple books, things like that. So it looks like you're still being very friendly, and you are, and you're being grateful, and you are, but the way you return it is different. It's devotional as opposed to non-devotional.
Then Prabhu, I always invite them for lunches at my place. From Govinda, I buy food from Govinda, and I make them taste prasadam and everything, and I don't go to their place.
Wonderful.
Because
Then
I
you're
know
already doing the right things then. You're already doing it right.
Yeah, well, I was blessed, Prabhu, because they are good people and they respect my belief.
Wonderful.
And then,
yeah,
they even come to the temple at times with me to accompany me. But I just want to clarify this. Thank you, Prabhu.
No, but I'm glad you did, because it's a very practical thing. Well, I'll tell you, I've been here such a long time, and so I have friends from before my ISKCON days. So just 1981, so like more than 42 years, right? So there's some people in Toronto I've known for 50 years, right? And clearly they were very, very close friends. But now I see them once every year or 2 years when there's some special occasion. And other than that, I don't see. So I've not broken my friendship with them. But we're not close anymore because we moved on. But again, it depends upon what that relationship is. In your case, it seems like a very special situation where nobody's advising you to move away from them. So keep your friendship, stay grateful, because you should be, but how you interact with them. And I think you're already doing all that.
Okay, Prabhu.
Okay. All right. So we're back to number 60. And the translation is: the spiritually powerful message of Godhead can be properly discussed only in a society of devotees. It is greatly pleasing to be here in that association. If one hears from devotees, the way of transcendental experience quickly opens, and gradually one attains firm faith that in due course develops into attraction and devotion. So again, this is from Srimad Bhagavatam, and it's Kapil Dev now responding to a question that Mother Devhuti asked about how to perform devotional service. And it's Prabhupada explaining that as we make progress, the process becomes clear and more encouraging. In other words, for example, when we start chanting, we have no taste. And sometimes chanting feels like a chore. Oh my God, I still have 16 rounds to go, and then I still have 14 to go. I still have 10 to go. And finally, only 1 to go. And you're 16 and you go like this. Finally, so again, the point being that because we don't have taste, and that's also the reason, for example, somebody asked, why do we need vacation from work? And should the devotees take vacation from devotional service? And I think it was somebody who asked Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, we take vacation from work because we don't like what we're doing. We're doing because we have to. We need the money. We maintain our family. So we're doing what we do, not because we like, not because we love it, but because we have to. So therefore, we need vacation from something we don't like doing. Similarly, until we get to a point, we have developed a taste for chanting, taste for service, love of Krishna. Sometimes devotional service also feels like a chore. I have to do it because I'm initiated, I made a promise to my Guru Maharaj. Or from fear, if I don't do this, I'll go to hell, or I'll be entangled in the material world for eternity, on and on and on. My point is that because of lack of taste, lack of love, we're feeling all those kind of things. But Kapil is explaining that as we continue, so for example, somebody asked my Guru Maharaj, his own as Gopal Krishna Maharaj, how to develop taste for chanting. And he said, by doing more chanting. And that's correct. So, and that's the stage we are at. So Kapil Dev is explaining the same thing to Mother Devhuti, his mother, that as we progress, as we do more and more devotional service, the path becomes clear and the taste develops. And as we get more encouragement, and we get the encouragement to continue by the instructions of the spiritual master. Unless we follow the instructions of the spiritual master, we cannot make progress. So that's another thing. We should all remember text 73 from 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where Arjuna says, Nashto maha smriti labdva tat prasadat maya achyuta sthito asmi gat sandhya karishye vachanam tava. The last 4 words. Karishye vachanam tava. I'll follow all your instructions. That is real surrender. And that is when we really start to make progress. If you don't follow Guru's instructions, forget it. We're not going to make progress. I remember a mundane example, a true story. There was a coach of a professional team, baseball, and he used to visit the what's called farm teams, which are junior teams. And once a year, he'll visit each of these teams and coach them. And somebody asked him, how do you know which of your players will make it to the professional league? And he said, the player who follows my instructions after I leave will make it. And the same thing for us. Those of us who follow the instructions of a spiritual master when he's not physically present with us, like we are here, he may be in India or some other place. When we follow instructions at that time, we make progress. Okay, so Kapil Dev is saying the same thing. We must follow the instructions, become encouraged. And what's necessary for that is that we must have confidence in the devotional service itself, and we develop that by hearing the science of devotion from a qualified spiritual master. And then, as we associate with the devotees, we try to adopt the means instructed by the spiritual master in our own life. In other words, now we're trying to realize and apply what we're learning from the spiritual master. So the realization is very important, and application. And this is why we say that when you're reading any scripture, whether Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, there should be 3 things. One is, what's the context in which whatever verse we're reading is being said? Second is, what is it really saying? And third is, how do I apply it to my life? If you don't apply it, what's the use of reading it? You can read Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya, Charitamrita, and all of the scriptures. But what is the use? We don't apply any of the principles. So in the association of the devotees, it's easier to apply those things in our life. And as we do all that, the strong attachment to the service of the Lord develops. And we keep hearing those messages in the company of devotees, that attachment becomes even stronger. And that's what leads Lord Krishna to say in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, text 9, Machitta madgat prana, bodhyantas parasparam, kathyantas sumam nitya, tushyanti cha ramanti cha. So then our satisfaction, our nourishment, all that comes from discussing Krishna katha in the association of the devotees. In the association of non-devotees, neither chanting nor hearing is fun. But it's so much more meaningful, so much more enjoyable and blissful and relishable in the company of the devotees. That's why King Rishabdev said, Mahat seva dwaram ahur vimukta. He said, when you serve the devotees, then the doors to the liberation are automatically open, which means that we become pure devotees. Any questions or comments? Okay, then I'll move to the next one. Okay, share. Okay, Swarupa, I think it's yours.
Ishwar Ishvara Swarupa Bhakta Tanara Adhisthana Bhaktera Hridaye Krishna Stata Visharama.
Yeah. What? Translation?
Translation: A pure devotee constantly engaged in the loving service of the Lord is identical with the Lord, who is always seated in his heart.
Yeah. So very, very interesting point being made here. A pure devotee constantly engaged in the loving service of the Lord is identical with the Lord. The Sakshat Haritvan Samasta Shastra. So it connects with that Guru Ashtakam, where Guru, being pure devotee, is as good as the Lord, identical with the Lord. And the point being made is that by the grace of Krishna and the spiritual master, we can uncover our aptitude for service to Krishna. And when we do that, then the Lord will reveal himself within our heart. And then we can know that Krishna is seated in our heart and the heart of every pure devotee. But only a devotee can realize that. Like we all have Paramatma in our heart, but we cannot realize that unless we're pure devotee, which is the point made in the next one. That again, I'm going to share the screen and share. Okay. Sadhavo hridayam mahyam sadhunam hridayam toham mad anyate na jananti na ham tebhyo managapi. Saints are my heart, and only I am their hearts. They do not know anyone but me, and therefore I do not recognize anyone besides them as mine. It's a very, very powerful verse spoken by the Lord himself to Durvasa Muni. And we all know the story about Ambrish Maharaj being offended by Durvasa Muni. And we know that how the Lord protected by sending his Sudarshan Chakra, and Durvasa Muni ran in fear of his life. He went to everybody, pointed to the Lord, and Lord said, not my place. And here he's saying that the Lord actually wholeheartedly cares for the devotees. He's always worried about how to elevate and protect all those devotees who have taken shelter of him. And he says that the Lord gives the same responsibility to the spiritual master. So therefore, your spiritual master is concerned how the disciples have surrendered to him and how they are making progress. Like the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the spiritual master is also mindful of always engaging the disciples, I should say, in cultivating the knowledge of Krishna. And that's the role that the spiritual master plays. And it's the same role as the role that Krishna plays himself. So whether Krishna is acting as Chaitya Guru or as external Guru, in terms of our spiritual master, the role remains the same, which is helping the devotee or the disciple to make progress and come to the point of fully engaging in the service of the Lord, along with achieving the full knowledge about Krishna and how to serve Krishna. Any questions on that? Okay.
Prabhuji, I have one question.
Go ahead.
It's regarding the last verse we did about devotee association. We read too much about it. We put stress on that devotee association. But when we see in the devotee community that they are fighting with each other, backbiting, how should we deal with this? these things we see in our material life, same things sometimes we see in spiritual life as well, in the temple and all that. I don't know your experience, but I have experience. So how should I deal with this?
I'm the one you're observing and thinking like that. So understand that we are all in different stages of devotional service. We're not become pure yet. Majority of us have not. Some maybe, but there are some not. We still are carrying our impressions from our previous lives. We're still carrying our baggage. We're still carrying our material desires. We still have the false ego. We have, all those things that we talk about materialistic people. We're still significantly materialistic. Only thing that's really good about us is that we're trying to make progress. If you remember the verse in the act of devotion, Ado Shraddha Tato Sadhu Sang At Bhajana Kriya Sat Artha Nivritti. So we're going through that stage. Artha Nivritti is still happening, but we're not there yet. So therefore, we still have the 6 anarthas of envy, pride, greed, envy, all those kind of things, and which causes us to fight. We love to criticize, and we love to feel good about somebody's perceived weaknesses. And we discuss them with our friends who also enjoy hearing about this. I mean, the only reason that Telus and Rogers and Bell are making billions of dollars is because we love to talk about other people. The day we stop talking about other people, these companies will go bankrupt. Right? So even though we become aspiring devotees, we're not there yet. So we see all this. Okay. Is that satisfactory, or we're looking for more?
So Prabhu, how to deal with this? What should we do? Ignore and just walk out?
Well, actually, if you're talking about criticizing, Giriraj Goswami, His Holiness Giriraj Goswami, actually gave a very nice formula. He said, if somebody comes to you and starts to criticize somebody else, very politely ask him the following questions. One is it really true, Prabhu? Do you know? And wait for the answer. 90% of the time, they say, no, I don't know, but I've heard from somebody else. Okay, so that's the first question you ask. If they say, no, it's not true, I'm not sure, then you say, well, if it's not true, why talk about this? You're not sure, find out first, then we can discuss this. That's the first point. Second point is, how does it affect you or me? If that is not, it doesn't, then why are we talking? And final question is there something you can do about this? If that is no, then why are we talking about this? Now, what happens is that a majority, I'm not talking about you, I'm not talking about people on this call, but majority of us really enjoy talking about other people. We enjoy listening to somebody's, perceived weaknesses or mistakes or faults. What we don't realize is that when we discuss somebody's faults, we actually download those faults in our own consciousness, and we become like the people we are criticizing. So we have to learn to walk away. That's how you deal with it. And I'll tell you one thing, barring exceptions, most people who insist on only talking about other people are not worth being friends. So as they say, I hope it's not a rude expression. They say, suck up and walk away. Okay, they're not my friends. I'll deal with them only as much as necessary, but we're not friends. So you don't quite unfriend them, but you unfriend them in your heart. Because they will go down and take you down with them. Okay? And if you're finding that you're yourself criticizing, ask yourself a very simple question. Who died and made me the judge? And then they stop you. And finally, I'll tell you, and you already know this, discussing Krishna Katha is so much more fun than discussing somebody else.
Correct.
Right? And next instruction, verse number 2, what does it say? Atyahara prayasascha prajalpa niyamagra. Prajalpa. Then it says, Jan sangasya lawlessness sadbhi bhakti nashyati. So if you are determined to destroy your devotional service, go ahead. But if you're not, then maybe you need to review it, right? I don't mean you, I mean anybody.
Okay, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, 63, I think it is now. Let's just go back there. Is it going back and forth working or is it tedious? Anybody?
Too much work for you, Prabhuji.
No, but is it tedious for you?
Not really.
Okay. Bhavat vidha bhagava bhagavatas tirth bhuta swayam vibho tirth kurvanti tirthani swantah sthena gadabhrita. Translation. Saints of your caliber are themselves places of pilgrimage. Because of their purity, they are constant companions of the Lord, and therefore they can purify even the place of pilgrimage. This is a wonderful verse that Yudhishthira Maharaj spoke to Vidura after he came back from his pilgrimage. And he says that pure devotees like you are personified holy places. Tirthani bhavanti tirthani. They become tirtha because of your presence. So the holy place of pilgrimage become holy place of pilgrimage because you are there, the pure devotees. Why? Because the Supreme Person of God is always in their heart, as per the previous verse that we did. Sadhva Sadhyomanyam. So therefore, when we go to a place of pilgrimage, if simply go and take bath in whatever river is there, or take darshan, not associated with the devotees, then you wasted our time. We basically wasted our time. We did not get the result of going to that place of pilgrimage. So the real benefit of going to a place of pilgrimage is to associate with the devotees there. You go to Vrindavan, simply take bath in Yamuna and come home, not the same. If you go darshan of Shri Radha Shyam Sundar, not associated with the devotees, not the same. So it's all about associating with the pure devotees. And we associate with them by hearing their classes, by asking them questions, finding some way to serve them. Although hearing their class also serving. But
Hare Krishna.
Oh,
Pause.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, your voice is
oh, sorry.
no, it's very slow.
How long? How long has it been?
Yeah, it's breaking.
No, we still cannot hear you, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Prabhu is on mute. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So I'll repeat what I said in the last 1 minute. And basically what I was saying was that it is this verse is spoken by Maharaj Yudhishthira to Vidura after he came back from place of pilgrimage. And he said that devotees like you are like walking pilgrimages because the Supreme Personality of Godhead resides in your heart. You're carrying the Lord in your heart. So wherever you go, becomes a place of pilgrimage. And the places of pilgrimage are places of pilgrimage because you are present there. If devotees are not there, it's not a place of pilgrimage. Similarly, if we go to a place of pilgrimage, we must make sure to associate with the devotees. Simply going and taking bath in the Ganges or Yamuna is not enough. We must meet the devotees, get association, serve them in whichever way you can in order to benefit from that. So once again, the point being made is that a spiritual master is pure devotee, and therefore we get the benefit of association with them as if we have actually visited a place of pilgrimage. Okay? Any questions on that? Okay, we'll go to the next one.
Prabhuji, can I read?
Of course you can. Sure.
সেই ভক্ত গণ হয় দ্বিবিধ প্রকার, পরিষদ গণ একা সাধক গণ আরো।
Very nice. What's the translation?
Yes, such pure devotees are two types: personal associates, parishads, and neophyte devotees, sadhakas.
Correct. Very good. So basically, he's been talking about these devotees and the characteristics and the benefits. Now, Krishnadas was explaining that there are different types of these devotees. Two types, I'm sorry. One is the parishads, which is the personal associates. And the second is sadhakas, which is the neophyte devotees. We are sadhakas. We're not parishads. Okay? No insult intended to anybody. Excuse me. So the sadhakas are those who are performing sadhana bhakti. So what are the two components of sadhana bhakti? Anybody knows? What two types of bhakti are included in sadhana bhakti? Nectar of devotion.
Is it
Chapter
rag?
Go ahead.
Vaidhi
Go ahead.
Bhakti and Raganuga.
Very
Raganuga.
good. Yes. Vaidhi bhakti and Raganuga. So we are doing that. And there are different reasons. Yes, we may be attracted by the opulence of the Lord. We may be attracted by the love of the God, or any other reason, pastimes, whatever. The point is that if we are attracted by the opulence of the Lord, then we go to Aishwarya Bhav and we end up in Vaikuntha. If you go for the love of God, then we end up with Madhurya Bhav and we end up in Vrindavan. Okay, but regardless, there are two types of devotees. One is Parshad and one is Sadhak. And we are Sadhakas. Okay, so let's go to the next one.
ঈশ্বরের অবতার তিন প্রকার, অংশ অবতার আর গুণ অবতার, শক্তবেশ অবতার তৃতীয়াই মাতা, হংস অবতার পুরুষ মৎস্যদিকায়াতা.
Go ahead, translation.
There are three categories of incarnations of Godhead: partial incarnations, qualitative incarnations, and empowered incarnations. The Purusas and Matsya are examples of partial incarnations.
Right, thank you. So now they are Krishnadas Kaviraj defining different categories of incarnations and saying there are three categories: partial, qualitative, and empowered. And he's going to give examples of those next few verses. He is saying the Purushas and the Matsyas are examples of partial incarnations. Who are the Purushas? Anybody? Sorry, which Vishnu?
Prabhuji, Karuna Dakshay, Garbho Dakshay, and
Vishnu.
Yeah, so all three are Purusha avatars. Okay. All right, so let's go to the next one.
Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, तीन गुणावतारे गणी, शक्ति अवशेषा, सनकादि पृथु व्यास मुनि. Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva are qualitative incarnations. Empowered incarnations are those like the Kumaras, King Prithu, and Mahamuni Vyas, the compiler of the Vedas.
Right. So what kind of qualitative incarnations are Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh?
Qualitative
So
incarnations.
what kind of qualitative? Anybody?
Like they have modes of passion, modes of ignorance, and modes of goodness.
Correct.
That's what.
Correct. So who is who?
So Vishnu is in the mode of goodness. Shiva is in the mode of passion.
No,
Sorry,
no.
I'm speaking the other way around. Yeah.
Sorry?
Mode of ignorance.
Shiva is mode of ignorance.
Shiva is in mode of ignorance. Yes.
Okay. Now, is Vishnu mode of goodness?
above that, pure goodness.
Yeah, very important to understand. Vishnu is not material at all. It cannot have material qualities. So it's pure goodness. Vishuddha Sattva. Okay, and then the empowered incarnation is Shakti Avesh Avatar. And give examples of Kumaras, Prithu, Vyasdev, etc. Okay, 68.
দুই রূপে হয় ভগবানেরও প্রকাশ, একেটা প্রকাশ হয় আরটা বিলাস।
Translation.
The personality of Godhead exhibits himself in two kinds of forms, Prakasha and Vilasa.
Right. Okay, so now he's saying the God himself manifests in two types of forms. One is called Prakash, second is called Vilas. So what is Prakash? Prakash are those forms where the features are exactly like the Lord. So the example is given that when the Ras Lila happened, there were 3 billion gopis who were in the Ras Lila, and Krishna expanded himself. She was with each one of them, but each form of Krishna was identical. So that is called Prakash form. Okay. Similarly, he married 16,108 wives in Dwarka, and he lived with them separately. So each of that expansion was also Prakash form, identical, no difference. Okay. So when there's some difference in the bodily feature, this is called Vilas form. So who's the first expansion as Vilas form of Lord Krishna?
Balram.
Balaram. Correct. And what's the difference?
Color.
Color.
He's always the
Color.
mood of
Exactly. Well, that's also true. But I mean, the bodily feature, the color is the difference. You're right. The mood is different. The servant mood as opposed to the master mood. And all the Narayan forms, they expand from Lord Balaram, but they're also all Vilas forms. So all the Purushas, all the gods, they're all Vilas forms. Okay? Lord Narayan is also Vilas form. Okay. Let's read the 69-70.
একই বিগ্রহ যদি হয় বহু রূপ, একারে তা ভেদ নাহি একই স্বরূপ। মহিষী বিবাহে আইছে আইছে কইল রাস, ইহাকে কহিয়ে কৃষ্ণেরও মুখ্য প্রকাশ।
Yeah, so being repeated what was in the previous verse in some more detail. Go ahead, read the translation.
Yeah. When the personality of Godhead expands himself in many forms, all non-different in their features, as Lord Krishna did when he married 16,000 queens and when he performed his Ras dance. Such forms of the Lord are called manifested forms, Prakasha Vigrahas.
Okay, so we already talked about that.
Yes.
Okay, so 71 I think is from Bhagavatam. Chitram bataya tad ekena vapusha yugapata prathak griheshu vi ashta sahasram striya eka udavahat. Translation. It is astounding that Lord Shri Krishna, who is one without a second, expanded himself in 16,000 similar forms to marry 16,000 queens in their respective homes. So again, we talked about that already. Okay, 72.
Prabhuji, sorry to interrupt. I have a question related to Prakash form. Prakash, literal meaning is light, right? Prakash.
It is,
Does
yeah.
it have anything to do with expansion, like, or is just what does it exactly mean? Like,
No, Prakash, no, not, they're two different meanings.
okay,
It's not in the sense of light.
yeah,
No, it's not.
okay. So it's just Krishna expanded himself, like Prakash means like same exactly as
Exactly same, yeah.
same. Okay, so nothing to do with the light or
Correct.
okay. Okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay. So 72 is also from Bhagavatam. Rasotsava sampravratto gopi mandal manditaha yogeshwarena krishnena tasam madhye dvayor. Translation. when Lord Krishna, surrounded by groups of cowherd girls, began the festivities of Rasa dance, the Lord of all mystic powers placed himself between each two girls. So once again, he expanded in the Prakash form. 73 and 74, also from Bhagavatam. Pravishten grihitanam kanthe swanikatam striyaha yam maneran nabhastva tavad viman shat shankulam divokasam sa daranam ati outsukya vitatmanam tato dundubhayo nedur nipetu pushpa vrashtayaha. When the cowherd girls and Krishna thus joined together, each girl thought that Krishna was dearly embracing her alone. To behold this wonderful pastime of the Lord's, the denizens of heaven and their wives, all very eager to see the dance, flew in the sky in the hundreds of airplanes. They showered flowers and beat sweetly on drums. So once again, it's very clear that same point is being made in Ras Lila. He was there, and it was so amazing to the other people. The denizens of heaven were watching this. How is it possible? 1.6 forms of Krishna, all in one place. Okay, next one is from Laghu Bhagavatamrita. Anekat prakatata rupasya kasya yakada sarvatha tat swarupaiva saprakash itiryate. If numerous forms, all equal in the features, are displayed simultaneously, such forms are called Prakash Vigraha of the Lord. So that's basically what we're talking about. They are appearing at the same time. There's no difference whatsoever in them. It's Prakash Vigraha. Now it's coming to Vilas in 76. So go ahead, Debjani.
Yes, Prabhuji. একই বিগ্রহ কিন্তু অকারে হয় অন্য অনেক প্রকাশ হয় বিলাসতারও নাম। Translation. But when the numerous forms are slightly different from one another, they are called Vilasa Vigrahas.
So once again, as we've been talking about, when there's a difference, that's called Vilas. Okay. Go ahead. Question?
Next verse, Prabhuji.
If you want to, yeah.
Swarupamanyakaram yat tasya bhati vilashatah prayenatma samam saktya shavilasho nigadyate. When the Lord displays numerous forms with different features by his inconceivable potency, such forms are called Vilash Vigrahas.
Okay, so again, same thing. So text 78 gives examples. Go ahead.
Yaiche Baladeva Paravyome Narayana Yaiche Vasudeva Prayumanadi Sankarshana. Example.
Go ahead, Devan.
Examples of such Vilash Vigrahas are Baldeva Narayana in Vaikuntha Dham and the Chaturvyuha Vasudeva Sankarshana Pradyumna and Aniruddha.
Okay, so everybody familiar with Lord Balram, Lord Narayan, Chaturvyuha, Vasudeva Sankarshan, Pradyumna and Aniruddha, right? Actually, this Chaturvyuha, they are the four who appear in Dwarka Lila. Okay, but they're all Vilas form because there's some difference. For example, they're all except for Lord Balram, who's white in color, but two-handed, but all the others mentioned here are four-handed forms. Okay, let's do 79 and 80.
Yeah. ঈশ্বরের শক্তি হয় এই তিন প্রকার এক লক্ষ্মী গণ পুরে মহিষী গণ আরো ব্রজে গোপী গণ আরো সপ্তাহতে প্রধান ব্রজেন্দ্র নন্দন যাতে স্বয়ং ভগবান। The energies consorts of the Supreme Lord are of three kinds: the Lakshmis in Vaikuntha, the Queen in Dwarka, and the Gopis in Vrindavan. The Gopis are the best of all, for they have the privilege of serving Sri Krishna, the primeval Lord, the son of the king of Raja.
Yeah. So, okay. So now, Krishnadas Kaviraj is talking about the potency or the energy of the Lord. So, which particular potency is he being referring to here in this verse? Anybody?
Antaranga Shakti. Yeah.
Okay. Divide that further.
Hladini potency.
Hladini, yes.
Hladini potency, yes.
Hladini Shakti or pleasure potency.
Pleasure potency.
So, the manifestation of pleasure potency is Radharani. But Radharani's energy, Shakti, like Hara, is Shakti, energy or potency of Krishna. What does it say? Later on, I will say in Chaitanya, says Radha Purna Shakti, Krishna Purna Shakti Man. Dui Vastu Bhedanai, Shastra Praman. So, Radharani is the Shakti Tattva. Right? Krishna is Vishnu Tattva, Radharani is Shakti Tattva. We are, what Tattva we are?
Jiva Tattva.
Jiva Tattva. Right. So Radharani is the principal manifestation of the pleasure potency of Krishna. And she expands. She expands as Lakshmis in Vaikuntha. She expands as the queens of Dwarka. She expands as the gopis in Vrindavan. So now the hierarchy is Radharani, the gopis, the queens, and the Lakshmis. And hierarchy is determined by the degree of privilege they have of serving Krishna or one of Krishna's forms. So in Vrindavan, the gopis are able to serve, Radharani, of course, the highest, but next is gopis because they're able to serve Krishna in Madhurya Ras, and they're very, very close to Krishna in their service. Next is the queens, they serve Krishna, but their Madhurya Bhava is mixed with Aishwarya Gyan. So it's Aishwarya Mishra Bhakti. As opposed to Vrindavan, which is pure, there's no Aishwarya. And then Lakshmi next, because their relationship is very formal. Like you don't see, have you ever seen a picture of Lord Narayan, Lord Vishnu hugging Mother Lakshmi? Have you seen them dancing together? Or the arms around each other's waist? It doesn't happen. It's a very formal relationship. It's still intimate, husband and wife still, but it's more Aishwarya Bhav than Madhurya Bhav. Very little Madhurya, mostly Aishwarya. In Dwarka is very little Aishwarya, mostly Madhurya. Vrindavan, no Aishwarya, all Madhurya. And that's the difference. Okay? All right, let's go to the number 81.
Swayam Rupa Krishnera Kayo Vihatanra Sama Bhakta Shahite Hayatanhara Avarana. The personal associates of the primeval Lord Shri Krishna are his devotees who are identical with him. He is complete with his entourage of devotees.
Right. So now, we talked about the Vishnu Tattvas, Krishna, the qualitative expansions. We talked about the energy, the potencies at the different times. Now coming to the devotees. Okay. I'm saying here that the devotees are actually identical with him. Again, back to Sakshat Haritwan. The same potencies, same everything. Okay. So number 82. If you're getting tired, maybe I can ask somebody else. Are you okay going or?
I'm okay, Prabhuji.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm enjoying Prabhuji Bengali.
No, I'm enjoying your Bengali, so go ahead.
ভক্ত আদি ক্রমে কইল সবার বন্দনা এ সভার বন্দনা সর্বশুভের করণা. Now I have worshipped all the various levels of devotees. Worshipping them is the source of all good fortune.
Right. And again, that's explained in the purport. Prabhupada says to offer prayers to the Lord, one should first offer prayers to his devotee and associates. So this is why we go Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale first, and then we go Shri Krishna Chaitanya, and then we go Hare Krishna. Right? That's the sequence. So devotees first, right? Then the associates, and then the Lord. Okay.
Devotees, then
Associates, and the Lord.
Okay. প্রথম শ্লোকে কহি সামান্য মঙ্গলাচরণ দ্বিতীয় শ্লোকেতে করি বিশেষ বন্দনা.
So now here is going back to very first chapter, Adi Lila chapter 1, text 1, where there's Mangalacharan. So if you recall, the first 14 are called Mangalacharan. So first one is saying, reminding us the general benediction. Number 2 is particular benediction. Go 84.
वंदे श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य नित्यानंद सहोदित गौरदये पुष्पवंत चित्रो छंदो तमोनुद. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, who are like the sun and moon. They have arisen simultaneously on the horizon of Gaura to dissipate the darkness of ignorance and thus wonderfully bestow benediction upon all.
Yeah, so it's basically repeating text number 2. He's saying Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda appeared like the sun and the moon. Typically in the material world, it's either the sun rising or the moon rising, not both at the same time. But in this case, both the sun and the moon, Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, have arisen at the same time from the east, which is the Gauradesh. And the purpose is same as moon and sun, to dissipate the darkness of ignorance. Okay, 85, 86.
ব্রজে যে বিহারে পূর্বে কৃষ্ণ বলরাম কোটি সূর্য চন্দ্র যিনি দোনহার নিজ ধাম সেই দুই জগতের হা ইয়া সাদয়া গৌড়া দেশে পূর্ব শৈলে করিল উদয়. Sri Krishna and Balram, the personalities of Godhead who formerly appeared in Vrindavan and were millions of times more effulgent than the sun and moon, have arisen over the eastern horizon of Gaurdesha, West Bengal, being compassionate for the fallen state of the world.
Right. So again, Krishna is Lord Chaitanya and Balram is Nityananda. They have appeared, just like they appeared in Vrindavan, he's appeared in the Gaurdesh of the West Bengal. Okay, 87.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya আর প্রভু নিত্যানন্দ জানহার প্রকাশে সর্ব জগত আনন্দ. The appearance of Shri Krishna Chaitanya and Prabhu Nityananda has surcharged the world with happiness.
Okay, 88, 89.
সূর্য চন্দ্র হরে আইছে সব অন্ধকার বাস্তু প্রকাশীয় করে ধর্মেরও প্রচার. এই মাতা দুই ভাই জীবেরও অঞ্জন তমনাশ করি কইল তত্ত্ববাস্তুদন. As the sun and moon drive away darkness by their appearance and reveal the nature of everything, these two brothers dissipate the darkness of ignorance, covering the living beings and enlighten them with knowledge of the absolute truth.
Right. So again, we'll discuss this verse in a lot of detail later on. But again, the point being, the appearance of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda is the main purpose is to remove the darkness of ignorance from the people of the world and give them knowledge of Krishna. Okay. 90.
অজ্ঞানতমের নম কহিয়ে কৈতব ধর্ম অর্থ কাম মোক্ষ পঞ্চ আদি সব. The darkness of ignorance is called kaitava, the way of cheating which begins with religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, the word katha will come quite a few times in the next few verses. And this means cheating. And then was making the point that the dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, they're all process of cheating. And that'll be explained later on in the next few verses. Okay, so I'm going to pause here. It's 9:23 already. And this verse is going to take a long time to explain. So, any questions, comments? Anyone? I'm going to change the view. Gallery. Okay.
So Prabhuji, are you explaining this 90th verse?
Later.
Okay.
90, let me make sure. Which one? So, no, 90, I'm not
Yeah,
going to explain because 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, they all explain this particular word. So just saying that I'm not going to explain this because next few verses, we're talking more detail. Right now, all we're saying is that katha basically means cheating religion, and the four processes of religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. They're all cheating religion. Liberation being the type, it's called Sayuchi Bhakti, which is merging the Brahmani fulgures. So that's why next verse we'll talk about the second verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, second verse, and explain in some detail why Bhagavatam is above all that katha. Okay, Sakhi Swarupa, you have a question.
Prabhuji, Mataji had asked a question, and you said that when we are dealing with the non-devotee relationships that we have had maybe before coming to ISKCON, and they are dear to us, right? You said that we should not get attached to them. So how do we define the attachment? Because obviously, because we have been with those people for these many years, obviously we care for them, and also that is also a quality that we want to imbibe, when we are practicing bhakti, right? So we want to care for people, we want to respect them, and we also like spending time with them. So then what is the boundary? Like, what attachment are we talking about?
Okay. Once again, I go back to the point I made, and that is giving association as opposed to taking association. And the simple difference is who is influencing whom. That's one point. And I think I explained that well enough that I don't think I need to, unless you ask me to go into more detail of what that means. Okay, so that's one point. Second point is we have to ask ourselves, what is more important to us? To serve Krishna, to serve our Guru, to study the scriptures, to do our devotional service, or maintain a mundane relationship? And well, if the answer is no, I have to maintain my mundane relationship, well, then there are issues. Then devotion is not priority. And hopefully that will change. And if the devotion is priority, it means less time for other people. And again, I can give you examples of my personal life. I think those of you know that I'm a very social person. I got literally thousands of friends in Toronto, literally thousands. I don't mean 10,000, but maybe a couple of thousand. And I don't spend time with them. I speak to them on phone maybe once a year, maybe once every 2 years. Some I don't speak at all. I'll go to their house if there's a birth, a death, or wedding. But other than that, I don't. Yeah, they complain sometimes, tum to gayab ho gaye yaar, milte nahi, ye, wo hai. But yeah, that's true. I'm gayab ho gaye. Because my interests are now different. I'd rather be with you than with them. Even though I've known you only for maybe 2 years, I've known them for 50 years. It doesn't matter. What is the instruction of my spiritual master? What is the instruction of Krishna in Bhagavad Gita? Talks about association, but whose association is he talking about? So I'd follow that. Yeah, that means some sacrifice. That means walking away. But I'll tell you, those people, not all obviously, but some of those people have said to me, Ravi, I'm not worried because I know you're there for me if I need you or when I need you. And that's the relationship you want to have. They know you're there, but you don't have to be there in their face all the time. You don't have to meet them every month or even every 6 months. It just depends upon the situation, right? What is ultimately good for me? And at some point in time, yeah, you have to give up that friendship. Some point in time. That may be different for different people, different relationship, different circumstances. So I'm not giving a general answer. But I'm saying eventually it has to be there. Where otherwise, how do you satatam kirtiyantomam? How do you do that otherwise? How do you do pratihata? How do you do that? You can't. It's like, you're trying to put your feet on 2 different boats, try to row them at the same time. Eventually, your legs are going to spread so far, you're going to fall. You make a decision. Again, I want to emphasize, it may be different time for different people. It may be different degree for different people. So I'm not giving any general solution or instruction. But my point is, at some point in time, the priorities have to be drawn. You can't have it both ways because they're mutually exclusive. I'm sorry if it's too strong an answer, but that's an answer. And I can tell you all honesty, I have tried to live that.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay.
I mean, I still feel like you said that now aap unke liye gayab ho gaye. So I think that now means that it might take some time, right? So you just can't wake up and tell them tomorrow that, okay, don't call me.
I'm not asking you to. I'm not asking you to. So, I mean, you and I have big age difference. So I've gone through what you're going through.
And until we are not there, as you said, the basic point that we have to be careful about is that we are not getting influenced by them, right?
Correct. And that's very, very important.
Yeah.
We influence them.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. Sorry if the answer was too strong, but it's the honest answer.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Prabhuji, once we try to influence them and they don't like it, they will get away slowly.
Okay. Sure. Yes,
good idea, Prabhuji.
Yes,
That's very true. That's very true. Bring them in. Ask them to join the group.
Exactly.
If they like it, they'll continue. If they don't, they'll leave you automatically.
Yeah.
Krishna Prabhuji, on the same point, I'm asking the same question. Sorry to ask it again and again. I like the point, first of all, of giving association instead of taking association, basically influence them instead of being influenced. But to do that, you have to be very strong in your devotional service.
Correct.
So that you are able to influence someone else.
Correct.
So I'm not saying we are, personally, I'm not like nowhere, but still we are somehow involved, reading, attending classes, chanting every day. There is some impact. But let's say for children, like here they're going to university, our children university age. So they are like, they're trying, but they're constantly facing the outside world people. So what's the suggestion for them? How should they, this is what I tell my children too, like my girls, don't be influenced by others, and they're pretty good, but still, there's a long way to go. So what do you suggest? What's your take on that?
Well, my take on that is that you have to be practical because they are immersed in that situation. You're not immersed. You have a choice. They don't have a choice. So clearly, theirs will be a little more involvement with their friends and classmates than you and I would. And therefore, their balancing point would be different. So as long as, for example, they can find time to do few rounds of chanting, maybe some reading, spend the weekends, with some devotees, chanting, singing, and all those kind of things, I think that's good enough.
Okay.
Right? Because the reference is different, point of reference is different.
Yeah.
So I always talk about, seesaw. Everybody knows what a seesaw is,
Yes.
right? If you want the seesaw to be horizontal, when two people are sitting on it, how do you do that?
There has to be balance on both sides.
But how do you do that? If
Two
the
people
one, if
sitting on
one side weighs 200 pounds, other side weighs 100 pounds. How do you keep the balance? How do you make it horizontal?
you have to increase the weight on the other
heavier
side.
No, you can't.
has to come
No, you
out.
can't.
Sorry.
Because one is 100 pounds, you're not going to ask them to gain weight. But that's 200 pounds, you're not going to ask them to lose weight. It takes too long. So how do you balance? How do you make that plane horizontal?
By holding
Heavier
tight on
person has to
Someone
come.
else.
Sorry, one person, please. Sagiswarupa, first go ahead.
I'm saying by holding tight the ground, by putting the feet
No,
down.
no. Your legs have to be above ground. That's cheating otherwise.
So you
Okay.
have to keep moving, I think,
No,
right?
no,
You have to,
no.
For the person who is less in weight, someone has to push with him.
No, Mata. Okay, nobody knows physics. Have you seen something is holding the seesaw up, right? There's a
Yeah.
piece of something that's connected to the ground. It's holding that piece
in the middle.
in the middle. When it's in the
Yes.
middle, it assumes equal weight on both sides.
Yeah.
But if there's more weight on the
On
other
one.
side, then you have to move that piece closer to the heavy side, and then you balance again. That's the law of physics. Try to imagine what I'm saying.
Mhm.
If you took that piece that's holding in the middle and move it closer to the person who's heavy,
Hmm.
then you balance again. That's the law of physics. I'm not going to get into the formula and all that with you, but just take my words for it. My point is that similarly, it's called fulcrum, by the technical word is fulcrum. The fulcrum has to move depending upon what we're dealing with. So if we're dealing with heavy people, that's where it has to go to keep the balance.
Yeah.
Okay. So your children, they have no choice. They have to deal more with them.
Yeah.
But there should be something on the side to make the balance. And that is whatever number of rounds they can do, whatever reading they can do, whatever conversations they can have with their devotee friends, weekends they can come home, participate. Those are the things.
Okay.
Otherwise, they have to work with them.
Yes, true. Thank you.
Okay.
One more thing I just wanted to add. We were talking about taste in chanting and reading. I remember once somebody asked a question to Gopal Krishna Maharaj or Gurudev as well, that, why do we fall asleep when we are especially, reading and chanting? And that was his answer, because you don't have the taste.
Yeah.
Why don't you fall asleep when you're eating, when you're having prasadam? Because you're interested in it, you have taste in it, and not in reading and chanting. So taste is a very important thing to have.
Yeah.
If you want to continue doing it.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you.
I remember when I was appearing for my IIT entrance, chemistry was the next paper, next day, and I hadn't done chemistry for 2 years. So I brought some books and all that, and I sat down to read, and I fell asleep. So my mother came and said, well, if you want to sleep, then go to your room and sleep. I said, okay. I went there and I found a novel, a book. It was very interesting. So 2 hours I read that book, then went to sleep. But chemistry I couldn't read. So it's a matter of what you're interested in.
Right. Yes.
If you're interested, you don't fall asleep. If you're not interested, yeah.
Right away. Holding the book, you're done.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. A lot of people keep Gita beside their bed. It helps them sleep. They start reading it,
Yeah.
eyes closed.
I have heard people saying that if you can't fall asleep, just start chanting.
Yeah, I'm sure it works for some people.
That's one of the suggestions that are given sometimes.
Yeah,
If you
yeah.
can't fall asleep, just start chanting.
That's right. Hey, Devjani?
Yes, Prabhuji, like on the same point, I was also thinking, like it's also a matter of involvement, like phase wise, like we get more and more involved, so the purity also increases within ourselves, and automatically this association thing, like it gets take care. We don't have to do anything, but I think it will be taken care. Like
Yeah,
we get more.
it will, for sure. For sure. My mother used to say, if you walk in a in a room that's been covered with black coal, when you come out, there'll be some traces of coal on your shirt. Right? So again, depends upon the association you keep. There'll be some influence. You can't avoid that. Okay, it's getting late, 9:39. Any final questions before we stop? The class is over, by the way. If you want to leave, you can leave. That's fine.
Thank you, Prabhu. It was an amazing, amazing class as usual.
Thank you.
So much good information, so much good. Seriously, it was really nice.
A lot of
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Prabhuji.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Thank you, everyone.
जय श्री प्रभुपाद की जय कृष्णदास कविराज की जय
Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
everyone.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And हमारे
Hare
प्रभु
Krishna,
जी की
Prabhu.
जय।
Thank you,
कृष्णा
Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
हरे
Thank
कृष्ण
you.
हरे
I'm
कृष्ण
feeling happy today, Prabhuji. At least I could get
जय
like,
good
last class I was lost. So
so this time you were with it
yes.
okay it's great thank you